Hey everyone, what's going on? It's BradPhusion here and welcome back to Re-Engineering, where I've been given a challenge to make a helicopter in Space Engineers. So helicopters are quite simple with the fact that it's basically just a vehicle with a few rotors on it kind of spinning around. But I was given the challenge to try to defy gravity or try to go against it, try to give the helicopter actual lift. Now, in this video I'll be going through a few prototypes, showing you guys some results that I came up with, as well as something special in the end as well. So, here's the first prototype I actually made for the helicopter design. It's quite simple. It uses a rotor here that has a small ship parts, and if you don't know how to do this, I'll give a demonstration as well in the end of the video here. But it has small ship parts here with a few artificial masses on the edge of the blades, and the reason why they're on the blades here is that when this actually spins around, it'll kind of even out where the gravity actually affects the ship, instead of it just being in certain set locations. Obviously I can make the blades a little bit bigger to make it a little bit easier, but you can understand how this actually works because you have a gravity gen down here pushing upwards that gives the helicopter lift. Now this is okay other than the fact that you can't actually land unless you're controlling the gravity generator constantly, which means you'd be flicking in and out of the console quite rapidly, which is kind of a little bit of a pain. You might have a second pilot there that would actually make it functional, but it doesn't really work out all too well. Here we have a stripped down version. Not too sure why this is actually here, but now I can demonstrate the whole rotor replacement section. So if I grab it out a hand drill here, there's several ways you can do that. Grinding doesn't work anymore, though it used to work about a few weeks ago, though I'm pretty sure they patched that at some point. But what you want to do is you actually just want to take to town with the drill here on this this actual rotor headpiece, not the actual main rotor itself, which is below me. As you guys can see, I've destroyed the large rotor head but left the rotor intact. What you'll then do is you'll get a new small ship piece and you'll place it down somewhere, just say for example down here. Now once I have this down here, you'll grab out another rotor, you put it on top, and then what you'll then do is you'll destroy the bottom piece now, which will leave you with just the head like so. Then what you'll do is you'll copy it and you'll just paste it up in top. Now try to line this up as close as you can. Once you've lined it up, you should see, if I paste it, it'll snap in place, allow me to now build it, and it is controllable via the options like so. As you expect a normal rotor to act, it acts like one. Power does transfer through to it, and that works out quite well. So let me take this helicopter over here with me, and let me give you guys a few demonstrations without interrupting anything else I've currently built, because I don't want you guys seeing it just yet. Even though, if you guys were here during the stream this morning, or about 12 hours ago or so, or actually probably would almost be 24 hours since this video has gone up, you would have seen a few of the concepts I went through. So here's the helicopter here. Let me turn on the rotors now, so we get a little bit of spin here. You guys can see that they're spinning quite nicely. Now I can convert this over to a ship. Let me turn the gyro down a little bit here. Turn the gravity gen quite low because we don't want it affecting me too much. Then we'll turn the... that's all good there. Just making sure everything's turned on, everything's all right to go. We'll convert it over to a ship, which should give me a little bit of spin, but actually it's not affecting me too badly here. And then we'll turn on the artificial masses, but first things first, let's turn on this a little bit lower here, because I don't want to take off quite quickly, because you will take off quite quickly. So with the artificial masses on, I should be given a slight lift if they actually get turned on here. There we go. So now you can see that we're actually starting to go up ever so slightly. Obviously the higher the gravity, the higher the forces is. This is quite basic. Like I said, this is a prototype. This is just the idea that I came up with. But like I said, it's quite troublesome to have to go in here, then turn this down if you want to decelerate, and so on and so forth. And it'll be quite hard for you to land and do anything of the sort. So then I thought, how could you rotate a gravity generator around to give you variable gravity forces? That actually looks kind of cool how it's flying there like that. That's really neat. So I've mixed up a few designs here, and I've come up with a VTOL type idea. Now, if you don't know what VTOL means, it means vertical takeoff and landing, meaning I'd have something that kind of uses the gravity generator like I've done here on the helicopter, other than I'm trying to make it actually function both going up and down without me having to access the console continuously. So I thought of trying to use the new suspension wheels. Now why am I using these? The simple fact is you can control them via the console using W and S to kind of spin them around, and you can use A and D to tilt them as well. But here's my second prototype over here that uses just that idea. So like I said, we have the gravity generator on the side here. Now the reason why I'm using the bigger wheels is because the 1x1s tend to break quite often. Not because of me, but because of a bug actually in the game. When you copy and paste or move them slightly, they will disconnect without ever actually breaking. They just do whatever they want to do. So here we have the ship here, and now I've spread out these all quite evenly on all the sides. Now the one problem with having multiple of these is that the wheels occasionally do go out of sync depending on whether or not they hit something, or just really depends on whether you're turning or anything like that. So let's get inside here and show you guys how this prototype works as well. So we'll turn all these off, and then turn all these off as well, and then turn the acceleration all the way down just in case. Make sure it's a ship, which it is, and then we can turn this on. Now once powered on, we can actually rotate the wheels. So if I go W and S, you can see that the wheels rotate in sync. Allow me to kind of control it however I want, and I'm actually using space to lock these in place temporarily, meaning I can have a little bit more control over the system I want. So if I want to take off like so, I'll turn them, lock them in. I can press P to use the handbrake if I wanted to. And then let me actually just turn these on here so we can get a better understanding of how this actually works. So the gravity gens are all the way down here just so I can move a little bit slower so you guys can see this in effect. So now I'm actually slightly taking off. Let me release the parking brake, and I can actually start accelerating forward if I face these forward like so. These don't use any thrusters at all. It's just because, like I said, it's a prototype and I want to see how exactly it would function. And for the most part, it functions quite well. Like I said, with the only real problems being the wheels will occasionally go out of sync if you mess around with it too much, and you do have things like that that you can do. Don't really serve any purpose. You can turn that off by disengaging the steering capabilities of the ship, but I can spin it around, and as you guys can see, it does slightly go out of sync after doing that rotating thing that I did a second ago. But other than that, it was a prototype that I thought was kind of cool, and it kind of led me to some more possibilities and ideas. So I'll let you drift throughout the space now. Thanks for helping me, and we'll go on to a few other designs that I kind of wanted to try out. So over here we have a one-wheel design that basically uses the same concept, but it only uses one wheel. The great thing about using only one wheel is that you don't have to worry about it going out of sync because, well, there's only one of them there. So we'll try that out in a second. And over here was one that used two wheels, but it uses the 1x1s. Now the problem with this, and I think I can maybe demonstrate it for you guys, is that the wheels here are actually disconnected. And you can see that the gravity generators are connected to the other end aren't actually showing up at all. And if I actually go check the gravity generators themselves by their control panel, you'll actually see that they're on a separate instance. So they're not actually connected in any way to the ship. Despite it looking like it actually is, it actually isn't. And if I copy it here and paste it, you guys can see that it's not part of the ship, which is why using the 1x1s is problematic, hence the use of the 3x3s. But obviously, in time, they might fix this in some sort of bug fix, because the wheels are only in alpha right now. So if they do fix it, a smaller design like this could work quite well, especially on something like this. It doesn't have to take up too much space. But nonetheless, let's try out this design here, which kind of, like I said before, works a little bit better simply because it is a lot smaller. We'll go convert to ship. We'll make sure the gravity gen is turned all the way down here, and make sure the steering is turned off. And then we will turn this thing on. So make sure we can control wheels, because that's what we want. The artificial masses can go on in a second. There we go. Let's rotate the wheel around to the upwards direction, lock it in place, and then we'll just turn on the artificial masses like so. And then yet again, you guys can see that I am taking off quite effectively, and like so, you can rotate this around to control in different directions. Now this is a start to a helicopter, because if you think about it, you can have a rotor on top kind of spinning around to kind of give it that look that it's actually flying and floating around space, even though I don't know why you'd have a helicopter in space. But I thought I'd go one up and just make a VTOL engine type design instead, and who knows what you can really do with this. It does use up a little less power than what you would do having thrusters to move around, considering this does control upwards and downwards movement as well. So you do have that to worry about. And as you guys can see, I'm kind of controlling this quite well. If you go up to 1 G a second here, sorry, not 1 G a second, 1 G of power, it will be slightly problematic because you do go quite quick. I'm not saying this is really a big problem, it just, well, I wouldn't suggest flying around with 1G unless you have a really big ship, and the ship itself is kind of hard to control. But let's see if we can get back here using this using this system. Now, like I said, this is kind of an interesting design. A thing worthy of noting is that when I do hold down space to lock this in place, or at least lock the gravity gen and the wheel, whenever I rotate around, you will see that it actually stays in the same angle, meaning that you can actually rotate your ship around as much as you'd like. And as you guys see, I'm kind of failing to try to control this thing with it being on 1G, and that was the thing I was talking about before. So never use 1G when you're using this thing here, because you will not have a good day in trying to get this thing down to where you want it to. But who knows, maybe I can do it, and maybe I'll just crush into the ship I was going to show you guys in a second. Well, that kind of sucks. It might still work, but I'm going to have to reload the world in a second here. Now, moving away from that prototype over there, which I totally didn't crash into that ship over there, I was showing you guys this over here, which is the VTOL engine yet again, but covered up with a little bit of armor here so it looks like an exterior type of engine. Now, originally this didn't come with a gravity generator inside of it because I was trying to see if I could just have a cosmetic type VTOL engine on the outside with the actual VTOL engine on the inside here, spinning in sync. But as it turns out, because that is slightly heavier, these don't keep up in sync when spinning, as that one would be a lot faster. Even if you do tweak the settings, they still won't ever be in proper sync. So the only solution if you wanted an exterior VTOL engine like this would be to have a artificial mass and gravity generator on the inside here, so it can kind of function both as a VTOL drive and look kind of badass at the same time, having thrusters on the exterior, because it looks like kind of like a rotary armor plating, and you can also stick armor right up to very close here, so you'd have it up to about here, which I think would look kind of cool if you were building a ship that had VTOL engines on the outside. Moving on to a actual VTOL ship that I have made over here. This one is quite nice because it has a nice interior here with a few thrusters, and then you have the VTOL drive in the center here, as well as artificial masses all around the outside to control it. Now this does have thrusters as well if you want to just use normal flight, but it does have the VTOL drive to kind of cut back on power and to take off from smaller places if need be. Now obviously the VTOL drive is kind of pointless when you compare it to the thrusters that already exist here, but because I was given the challenge of making a helicopter, I've decided to make the VTOL drive as well. But let's test out the ship here. I'll show you guys this thing in flight as well. This thing is a little bit slower than other ships, but it's functional nonetheless. So let's go convert to ship here. Let's make sure the gravity is turned all the way down. The gear is the wheel here. It's got steering turned off so it doesn't rotate in the wrong way, and the AA is turned on. So if we do turn this ship on like so, and then we can start rotating the wheel in whichever way we want. So we want to go upwards, obviously, because we're going to be taking off in a VTOL ship. We'll turn the AA, the GGs on, and we are actually moving. Yes, I completely forgot about that actually taking effect. So we can then fly forward and everything like so. And it does look like the ship is kind of a bend, so I guess if you wanted to move stealthy-like and make your ship appear to be turned off to everyone who's nearby you, you can also use a VTOL drive for that purpose as well. Because if you look at my ship right now, it actually looks like it's not being controlled by anything at all and just drifting through space. Whilst I do have some slight limited control, because I do have access to the gyros and to the gravity drive, which allows me forward and back movement as well as up and down. Not so much left and right though, so you have to kind of turn around to do that. But nonetheless, you can look like a drifting ship in outer space quite fine. Let's see if I can actually land this thing down here using the gravity drive here. Now it might be a little bit of a rough landing, but nonetheless it'll be kind of a demonstration reason or purpose here. Now obviously if I don't hold down space, the kind of gravity drive goes a little bit over the place, but nonetheless it's not like it's a big deal or anything. And here we are now slowing down. We're trying to go a little bit down here. Let me just lock this in temporarily so I can have a better look at the place. Thing is going quite fine. What we're going to do now is kind of back up here and see if we can just gently go down. And we might hit something in front of us, maybe. If we don't stop in time, yes, we will hit that. But I think our landing might just be a little bit rough. But if we had landing gear, we would be a little better off, I think. But I think, nonetheless, to land using just gravity in like a VTOL engine type state, I think we didn't do too badly here. And obviously you can then, if you wanted to, go control thrusters, turn this on, and then turn the dampeners on and whatnot. And you can control, like I said, like a normal ship, depending on what you really want to do. But I guess this could actually function as a stealth drive, because like I said, you can have your engines turned off, and no one would even know that the ship is being piloted. So that's kind of cool. I think that might be the title. VTOL Engine / Stealth Drive. Which I think is pretty damn neat. Now, considering I almost landed this perfectly amongst all this, I think I have to give some credit to the piloting skills there. Now, moving on, obviously the challenge was about me making a helicopter. So over here we have, well, a pretty derpy looking helicopter, to say the least. Now, this does function very similar to the last ship. The only problem is it does have rotors on top that kind of spin around and kind of make things a little bit more awkward, to say the least. So let's go in third person here. Let's have a look at this ship here. So it does function. It doesn't function well, but I guess I can show you guys it nonetheless. So let's turn the rotors on here, and you guys can see them kicking in right there. Now, obviously, because of the way that the rotors work, my ship is naturally spinning as well. I could have a few thrusters going against that, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's turn on the artificial mass. I think the gravity's all right. Which way is the actual wheel going? I can't actually tell here. It's turned off, and the artificial masses are off as well. So let's turn this on. Let's get this to an upwards direction here. We'll go control wheels here. Thrusters are turned off. Release the handbrake. Let's turn the gravity generator around to the upwards position. See if we can actually take this thing off. So let's lock that in place. Turn the AA now on, and you should see we are now getting lift in a helicopter, and yet again I can then go forward or backwards depending on how exactly I want to fly this thing. But it works. Like I said, it does work a little bit weird. The helicopter might tilt and go sideways a bit, but that's because of the rotors on top. But nonetheless, it is slightly functional. But I did think this was an interesting thing, an interesting concept to show you guys. Using gravity in different directions to kind of pilot a ship. And like I said, you could have a complete stealth drive using this sort of mechanic here, which I think is pretty cool. So right now I'm just going in for a well, slightly bumpy landing, I think, because I'm not really focusing much on how I'm landing this, other than the fact that I'm most likely going to land this completely wrong. But let's go up here slightly with the gravity, and it's a touchdown. And there we go. We can then turn everything off and turn the thrusters on if need be. But that's the basics of the helicopter and the VTOL drive, as well as the stealth drive, if you want to call it that as well. But, you know, it works. It works. Now to move on to the special thing I was going to show you guys, and that is glass missiles. The strongest missiles I have ever made that doesn't contain any explosive engines or explosive components. Now, you're probably wondering, what do you mean by glass? Why is glass so strong? And to be honest, I have no clue whatsoever. So here we have two missiles. This is the first one I was testing out when I was doing a live stream here. You guys asked me to ram the ship with something, and I thought, why not make it a glass missile to see how effective this actually is. And to be honest, we were quite shocked. So as you guys can see, there's no explosives, nothing weird going on here. Just a few pieces of glass, a few artificial masses, and a gravity generator to push this thing forward. Now to keep things fair, I'm going to turn this one off so that they don't interfere with each other. And we'll show you guys how much damage this actually does to this wall here. Now to show you guys how thick this wall is, let me just grab out the measuring tool here. We have 14 blocks of heavy armor. Keep that in mind, this is heavy armor as well. Now I don't know how effective this will be because we were doing it during the live stream, so it might completely change. But let's go up and let's take a look at this yet again. So what we'll do is we'll turn this into a ship, and then we'll turn. Oh, okay, we're going to go forward anyways. I didn't even get a chance to tweak it. Let's get out here and let's have a look at how much this is actually doing. Now, it does stop every now and then, which is slightly problematic, but if you do have it spinning slightly, I do notice that that actually keeps it going quite well. So what we'll do now is we'll turn up the gravity generator all the way, which is what it was meant to be on in the first place. Get out of here and actually show you guys the amount of damage this does. Now, the other thing about glass is it actually does cut through heavy armor quite easily. It does break off, obviously the further it goes in, the further it breaks, but I was testing this on my large ship and it tore this thing to pieces. It went all the way through my ship, and I was actually genuinely surprised as how effective this actually was. So to have something like this just ramming into your ship quite effectively. Now obviously going full speed into the side of the ship doesn't work out quite well. What you want to do with these is get it up really nice and close and then go full speed with it. So you don't really have much of an impact as much as you do constantly this sort of drilling thing that you have going on here, which as you guys can see, it is going through the whole thing like crazy. I'm going to wait for it on the other side because I know it most likely will come out the other side here. I haven't tested how long it will go for, but I'm guessing that the more glass you have, the more this thing will penetrate. So even so, you can probably have a ship with a certain glass exterior on one side. Now, glass does explode quite easily. If you do shoot it, it will break quite easily. But it seems like in this instant, glass is actually quite strong and durable when it's coming up against heavy armor. And here we see it kind of breaking through with all the sparks. And do we have it coming out, or is it coming out the other side? Oh no, there we go. It's coming out, and it breaks free. There we go. So we've actually gotten through this whole thing using just glass. Let's try with this one over here, which is slightly reinforced as well. So we have it a little bit closer together at the front here, a little bit heavy armor reinforcement, and then we have glass on the outside over here. Let's see how well this one actually does in comparison to the other one, which just dealt so much damage for just something made out of glass. I wouldn't expect this, to say the least. So convert to ship. Let's turn this all the way down here. So we don't affect it just yet. Turn that on, so what we'll do is power this on. We'll go forward slightly till we nuzzle up against it, and then we'll go full speed with the gravity gen and see how effective this actually is. And oh my god, it's taking off. Now, my game runs really weird when it's doing this, because right now it looks slightly laggy, but apparently my frame rate is over 100, so just keep that in mind. Now it's slowed down ever so slightly. I think it's because the actual heavy armor on the inside actually stops this from going any faster than what it's doing, but it doesn't seem to be slowing down all too much. It is actually going through quite effectively, to say the least. We can enable spectator mode, but I think that will take me all the way back to the start, so I'm not going to worry about that just yet. But like I said, glass and gravity is effective as hell, and we'll yet again have a look at this hole over here just to show you guys yet again how effective this actually is. So that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. That has been the VTOL drive as well as the glass rockets. Obviously you can stick warheads inside of this if you wanted to kind of have like a timed explosive, I guess, if you had it more so. Say for example you had a warhead at the back. Once the glass actually broke through and maybe something touched the warhead, it would cause it to detonate. That would be kind of cool, but that isn't what I've done here today. But I'll leave that up to your imagination and your creativity. This has been BradPhusion with the VTOL Engine Stealth Drive as well as the glass rockets here. Thank you guys for watching, and stay awesome.